For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love.
And what are some of the things that you've really
run out of time, and we've got to talk about your latest. I want to go back a little bit, first of all, and celebrate a true legend.
Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work.
And did you pursue performing opportunities while you were in high school?
Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Who or what are you celebrating today? Welcome to Richard Skipper Celebrates. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. My show is all about celebrating life, celebrating art, celebrating whatever we can find to celebrate. And yes, there is a lot to celebrate if we only take the time to do so. I am so excited about today's show because I get the chance to celebrate one of my favorite entertainers. My dear friend Carol Channing once said, "There are entertainers in the world and there are performers." I've said this before, and some of you are going to hear me say it again. Seals are performers. A seal is only interested in one thing, getting a fish. It will balance a ball on its nose. It will flap its fins. It will do whatever it can to get that reward. But an entertainer, it's always interested in that audience. It's always going out there. And this very special ham that we're going to bring on today's show is one of the greatest entertainers out there, Sam Harris. You don't believe me? I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to give you a sample of what I'm talking about. And you'll see him on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest entertainers I know, Sam.
Don't tell me not to let you sit in butter. I'm standing on my side of all of it. Don't bring around the cloud rain on my bed. Don't tell me not to fly. I've simply got to. If someone takes the spell, it's me and not you. Who told you you're allowed to rain on my parade? I'm much more bad now to beat my drum. And if I find out, I'll turn that back, sir. At least I didn't make it, sir. I guess I didn't make it, but whether I'm the right shape of fiction, a red color on my nose, a white complexion, the sinner on a shiny apple of its eye. I gotta fly once, I gotta try once, hold me, can I once, right, sir? Ooh, let me juicy, and you see, I gotta have my sir. Get ready for me, love, 'cause I'm a comer. I simply gotta march my heart to drum. Don't bring around the cloudy rain on my parade. I'm gonna let
Sand Springs, Oklahoma. That's where you find that talent.
Hi, Richard.
Sam, I am so thrilled that you are here today.
Me too.
Wow. Beanie Feldstein, eat your heart out. Funny Girl is coming back to Broadway, and so are you. How are you doing, first of all?
I'm great. I'm really, really wonderful. I'm so happy and grateful, and I have a great life and a beautiful husband and a beautiful child. And I don't know. It's some late. There's a lot of change going on, a lot of rebirths all at once in different aspects of my life. So I'm a really happy person.
Well, the name of the show is Richard Skipper Celebrates, and there you have it, right there. Now we can go home. Well, you know, it's funny. I am going to surprise you with something because you and I had the pleasure of celebrating. We appeared together many, many years ago in another lifetime of mine at Carnegie Hall. Do you remember?
Give me the details, but yeah.
So I went into my vault today. Of course, this is from my past. I'm going to pull up, this is going to shock you.
Okay.
Of course, we were both 2 years old at the time.
Right.
This is when I was performing as Carol Channing, and you were performing as Sam Harris. So here we are. Look at this.
Oh my gosh. That is fantastic. Oh yes, with a gay men's chorus.
Yes, that's right. And there we are, Sam Harris and Richard Skipper at Carnegie Hall.
That's spectacular. And you know what? That's so funny because I have so many pictures of me and her where she is doing that thing with the tanned. That's fabulous.
You know, I have to be honest with you, as you go through life, I have completely, you know, I had not thought about this in years. And I'll tell you what brought it back this morning. I was watching your one-man show based on your phenomenal book, which, by the way, I'm giving away a free copy of this at the end of the show. My gift to a lucky viewer today, because you are a brilliant writer, as well as great a singer you are, you're a great writer as well. And I was watching your one-man show based on this morning, and you mentioned being backstage with Carol Channing, and she's putting the rhinestones on her cast, which happened with her. And you tell the story of what she said to Connie Francis. And do you want to share that, or would you prefer that?
Well, here's what it was. I would ask, because she had broken her arm in rehearsal. She had fallen down the stairs. They took her to the hospital, and she came back in a cast to do the show. And she was gluing rhinestones on the cast. And I said, Carol, what are you doing here? You broke your arm. And she said, Sam, I said I'd be here, and I'm here. She said, what was the name? I'm trying to remember all this. What was the name of that singer she went to an institution. She was beaten by the mob. And I said, Connie Francis. And she said, yes. I said to her, Connie, get over it. You've still got your orchestrations. You're still in show business. That's all that matters. Just as long as you're in show business, you've got your charts. That's all that matters.
Well, you know, it's funny because those of us who were in this business, and it's funny because I got this real microcosm of a life. You work towards getting something, and we're going to talk about the trajectory of this path that got you there, and these funny anecdotes, but also the pathos of getting what you want. Carol also used to say that her father used to say, be careful what you wish for, because you will surely get it. And let's face it, you got it. You got what you wanted. But with that came a lot of heartache as well. And I want to tell you, my morning began with my coffee, your email, and thank you, sending me the link to watch the show. You took me on this emotional roller coaster this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
So very emotional. I always begin my shows with a random question. Okay. So it's a question that I haven't even looked at. So I'm going to start with this random question.
Where does it
So
come from?
yes, I pull it out of a box, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I don't even know what I'm about to ask you, and it
Okay.
makes it interesting for both of us. And the question is, how did you meet your best friend? That's a great way to start.
Well, I have two best friends. One is my friend Bruce Newberg, who we met in college and in musical theater, and found each other and understood totally separate backgrounds. He was from Long Island. He was Jewish. He was New York. And I'm, was from the sticks in Oklahoma. And we just were kindred spirits. And we wrote a musical together that was produced several times. We wrote a TV show together. We made each other laugh. We grew up. And that's how we met. My other best friend is my husband. And we met on the Broadway national tour of Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was Joseph, and he played Dan, and his name is Daniel. We joke because his name is Daniel Jacobson, and he played Daniel Jacobs' son.
Yes, that's right.
And we've been together for 7 years now. So that's how I met my two best friends.
And my best friend is my husband, Daniel, and we met this summer in Provincetown.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so, and it's interesting, before we went on the air tonight, my friend Jeff Gans said to say hello to you because he played that national tour of
Yes.
Joseph, and just, so he sends his love to you.
With my love.
Yes. And before, I also asked for a photograph of you as a 5-year-old. I think that you sent me a photograph of you a little younger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason that I asked for this photograph. I'm going to pull this up. There you are, the little ham that you are. I love this photograph because for me, that looking at this photograph, it's before life begins to put the pressure on you of who you should be or who you should not be. And there are so many anecdotes in this book, episodes, and a lot of them hit home with me as well. And one really hit me between the eyes because I had the same episode happen to me. It was a parallel life episode. But tell us a little bit about this little boy. What you recall from even looking at this picture of who this little boy is.
I think my greatest blessing was that I knew what I wanted to do and be from my earliest memory. And I have a son who's almost 14, and trying to figure out who he is and what he likes and what he's good at, what his gifts are, what he doesn't like. And my husband is always telling me, what? Everybody doesn't know who they are when they're 2 years old. If this is normal, he's the normal one. You're the weird, you're the anomaly. And I have to remember that. But it was my blessing because I knew I loved to pretend. I knew I loved to make stuff up. I knew I had a good ear. I knew that I loved the attention of entertaining. And at that age, with that picture, I would get up on the dining room table and sing, for the family reunion or whatever it was. And I always knew. And then later on in my life, not much later, when I knew that I was different, not in the good way then,
right?
It became my escape. It became my survival tool. I think so many of us, and I think this is probably where we have parallel experiences. I think so many of us who have chosen this business, it's because it was pretend. It was because it was this salvation for us, this thing that we found. And then we found our tribe. I left home when I was 15 years old to find my tribe, and I found it. That's an amazing blessing. Most of my friends are in show business in different capacities. maybe an actor, maybe a writer, maybe a singer, maybe a whatever. It's all the same. And so that's I always say that's, you know, if I could wish, I mean, that's what gave me my everything.
Well, Sam, I too knew at a very early age what I wanted to do with my life. I grew up also, we are give or take a year. I think I'm older than you are. But we grew up at a time when there were 3 networks. I grew up, I'm a television household. I knew that that was the world that I wanted to be a part of. If I could have jumped into the TV set, I would have. I wanted to escape into that world. And you are very open in your book about the situation with your father and your mother. I had situation with my father, was an alcoholic, living in that household. I wanted to escape into the world of theater as well. But I also knew what I wanted to do very early on. And to me, as I look back on that period, and I'd like you to elaborate on this as well, sometimes I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse, because it was also knowing what I wanted, and everyone else somehow poo-pooing that idea with me. Was everybody supportive of you, around you, the people that you went to school with, the people that were part of your circle? Or were you lucky enough to have everybody being there in your corner? I mean, you have this amazing gift, let's face it. But were they very supportive of that?
Yes. Everyone was supportive of that. I don't mind saying I knew I was gifted. I knew I was special in that way. And you know, and everybody has whatever their version is of that. I was able to identify mine. So everyone growing up, my parents were supportive and gave me opportunities. I mean, you can't drive to an audition when you're 10.
Right.
And so whatever little theater was going on in, you know, in Tulsa, which was the closest real city to us, you know, I took drama lessons at Charles Ellis studio. I remember, you know, I was 10. Meanwhile, at the same time, I was bullied. I was called a sissy and I called a faggot. And so that was not supportive. But among those that counted, I was very supported. And my father was a musician. He was a band director, a high school band director. And he taught me so much. He was a difficult father. He wasn't a great father, but he loved music so much. And, you know, he took me to see Sammy Davis Jr. when I was 10. He took me to sing Liza when I was 11 or something. You know, he took me to see Jesus Christ Superstar. He took me to see Ella Fitzgerald and Count Basie in a little nightclub that I was not allowed to be in because I was a kid, and he paid off the guy to let me, and we didn't have money, and he paid off. I mean, I remember him sitting down with me and playing classical music and telling me to make up the story that I was hearing as if the music was underscoring my story. And it changed the way I looked at music, and I realized that the thought comes first. I mean, as an actor, which is what I consider myself, and if I'm singing, the thought is what makes the music happen. I'm not singing along. I'm singing, and it is supporting me. I learned that from him. He was a crappy father in a lot of other ways. My mother, on the other hand, was loved the theater, and she would always, you know, like read all the lines of every single person in the show. If I was learning lines, she didn't just read my scenes. She just wanted to be in the show. So, but you know, she taught me that too. And I have a younger brother who's extraordinarily gifted. So I grew up in a household that loved and appreciated music and theater. My mom used to take me to Tulsa to watch old movie revivals. You know, we didn't, on Saturday afternoons, they would play them on something once in a while, you know, old movies, musicals. But my mom would take me and we would watch, you know, Singing in the Rain 3 times in a movie theater. So I had that, and I'm lucky to have that.
Well, You being a Southerner, as I was, I want to talk about the world of religion in your life, which you very much talk about in your book and in your show, and how that influenced you, especially the gospel singing that you came to, and the major influences that that had on you.
Well, first of all, I grew up, in the Bible Belt, as you did, and the Southern baptism, which was fire and brimstone and damnation and a nightmare. And I knew I was gay even before I knew what the word was. And I knew that I was damned and evil and a sinner. But
without going into it, I will tell you that I will never be able to watch Gypsy or listen to Gypsy in the same way again after your section about Gypsy in your book. Everyone's going to have to rush out and get the book now to know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a little risque. And
Yes.
also probably know.
Don't tell it. Don't tell it.
I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to tell. That became my church. My church became the theater.
Yes. Yes.
But also this is something that I'm also grateful for, because I know it destroyed a lot of people not being accepted by the church or what they thought was their community. But Richard, I don't know what I had. I don't know if I was rebellious or whatever. I just rejected it. I just said, and I would ask questions that they couldn't answer, and they thought it was heresy. And I'm like, fuck this. This is not working for me. This is not working for me. And so I found my church in the theater.
Yes.
And then later in my life, found my own version of spirituality and my outlook at the universe. But yeah, okay. And then, and when I was a little older, I had a friend in high school named Rochelle Chambers, who was a brilliant, brilliant singer, just brilliant. And we were friends, and she took me to her Black church, and it was life-changing, because even though I knew who Aretha Franklin was, and I had grown up listening to Billie Holiday and all, I was really a musical theater person. And being there and having that experience taught me why we sing rather than how to sing. Why you have to sing, why you must create that noise. And what does that mean? Emotionally, joyfully, with pathos, with whatever it is. Why? And it made it alive in a different way than it had been before.
And there was also a reason for being there.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's the thing too about, and I believe this to my core, if we like who we are now, and we know we're a good person, if I know I'm a good person and a good husband and a good father and a good friend and a professional, and I respect, if I am that, then I cannot regret anything that got me here along the way, even the bad shit, even lousy parenting sometimes, even a suicide attempt at 16, which is—
Oh my God. Oh my God. That got me. And I want to say thank God for knitting needles.
Yes, you can read the book and see the show. It's the show's streaming pretty almost everywhere, so you guys can look at it. But I can't regret that. I can't say I wish it didn't happen, because not only does that make me the kind of person that I am, but it makes me the kind of artist that I am. And I don't know if it's a past life thing or what we bring here, Richard, but I don't think a 3-year-old can be attracted to Billie Holiday music unless something going on.
That's right. That's right. I mean? Absolutely. But, and then moving forward, there comes a moment where you say, as you say in the show, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Was there a light bulb moment for you, or was it something that was just seething and building up in you?
I think I dramatically used it in the show as if it was a flash decision. It was not. It was something that I had been always feeling. And I knew at a certain point that if my gift was the ticket to find my tribe, to find myself, even though I probably could not have articulated that terribly well at the time. Then that's what it was. It was a growing thing. And I knew, Richard, I mean, here's the thing. I knew, to the degree that it actually hurt me later in my life, my young life, I knew that if I sang, you would like me. I knew you would like me. And in fact, if you didn't hear me sing, I didn't think you would like me. So that was my calling card of like, see, look what I can do.
I want to be so careful because I don't want to do any spoilers and I don't want to give away too much in the book. But there are two things that happened in your growing up that, and once is enough for me. It's one of my biggest fears, and that's your house burning down. And how do you survive something like this? Losing everything you own. I look around at the things, my memorabilia, the things that I've collected. How does one get past that?
Well, the first one was when I was 10. The second one was when I was 15. The first one, I didn't have a lot of memorabilia. I had
things that matter to you, though.
Yes, they did. The second one was when I was 15, and I left home soon after that. To sort of start creating my own life. But I'll tell you what it did. And I love my stuff that I have now. I mean, and now I have a child. So all those photographs, of course, most of them are in the cloud, thankfully, and those memorabilia. Danny, my husband, always makes fun because he can point to everything in his house and say, where did we get that? We got that on this trip. So-and-so gave me that as a gift. This was a such and such. I know what they are because they represent emotional things to me. This is a home, it's a home. So I have that investment, but I'll tell you what it taught me is it don't matter. Like literally, I had the clothes on my back and we all made it through. No one was dead. No one was harmed. And you just get more shit. It really taught me to be able to leave behind, and not just materially, but also that sort of thing like, I need to make this change. It's going to be okay. I've survived worse. We had that same year, the first one, you remember in the book, and we were our family moved to a trailer while our house was being rebuilt, and there was a tornado that nearly killed us. All the trailers around us were just blown up, and ours did not. And that's another thing is like, you better, life can be short.
So we're going to jump around a little bit because there's some major events coming up that I want to get to. But you leave home and you eventually start getting gigs as a singer, and you get discovered. And that begins the trajectory into your career. Right. So let's start with how those early gigs began to happen for you.
I would sing anywhere. And this was completely attached to what I was talking about of getting that kind of approval. Richard, I used to drive around parking lots of a grocery store and sing out my car window in the hopes that somebody pushing a basket to their car would look up and say, who is that? I was also unabashedly, I was playing these dumpy little club. It was called The Horn. It was in Santa Monica. Just, it gave us, so many of us, our starts. It's where I could fail. I could fail. I was trying to figure out who I was. I was stealing from this one and stealing from that one and making this up. And I did, for $25 a night, doing like 6 sets. I just lost my train of thought.
Of singing, singing at every opportunity.
And I would tell anybody, you have to come hear me. You have to come hear me. And, you get away with that when you're 18 or 19, because they think that you just got some chutzpah and, and then, after, when I got to be in the public eye, I had already at a young age found myself, found my voice, found a style, had a repertoire. Right before Star Search, I was doing this show called Out of Control, which was, a concert show. I've always created theatrical arcs in this 50-seat theater that became this sort of a culty thing.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time Stars Arch happened, then I had the material. I already had the funky outfit. I already kind of knew who I was. And I think you're alluding to this too. Prior to that, I had a mentor, Jerry Blatt, who was my director and writer and taught me about construction of a show and the part of comedy. Well, here's the thing is I always had so many goddamn ballads that my up-tempos were comedy. I always had so many. I was like, what am I going to do with this? So then I would be very funny. I would be funny, and then I could do another ballad, and then I would make fun of something, and then I would, So he taught me that. I had great teachers.
What was the emotional ride for you in those weeks? Those of us who were hanging on week after week after week. I was one of those groupies going, oh my God, he's got to get there next week. We were following you and living vicariously through you. But what was it like for you in those in-between times from week to week leading up to what's going to be the next step? And again, as it's stated in the show, this was before American Idol. This was before any of those shows. This was the forerunner for any of these types of shows.
Right. Well, remember that shows they weren't live. So I was still performing in the 50-seat theater with 3 backup singers that I called the International Pancakes. And we were doing this little schlubby show in a black box theater while this was being taped. And then after the, 4th, 5th, 6th thing, it started to air. And then the thing started to happen and the buzz started to happen. And I never picked material in advance, never before if I won, because I thought I would jinx it. But then I would sit with all the records all over the floor and go through and can I do, and then I did a lot of material that I already had been doing, in my little show. So I was a wreck. I was nervous, but unlike American Idol and these wonderful shows that give people this stage and give them this national platform, Star Search didn't tell us what to wear. They didn't groom us to be a star. They didn't pick our material for us. They didn't give us a mentor. They didn't criticize us on the air. So basically, we got to go on and be ourselves. And who I was a 21 or 22-year-old boy who was wearing an oversized tuxedo jacket and high-top tennis shoes and singing, a Judy Garland song. I mean, what the, what? But it was authentic to me, Richard. And so it wasn't a gimmick to me. It was authentic to me. And I think that's what I'm attracted to in all performers.
And
like,
absolutely.
This is real, then I'm buying it,
And this, America as a whole is falling in love with you. I'm going to tell you something that, again, I'm going to bring her up again. Forgive me, folks. Carol Channing once said to me, please understand that for every person who likes you, there are an equal number who don't. And so Carol Channing once said, for every person who likes you, there are an equal number who don't. So this major success is happening for you. And with all this success that's happening for you, right after this is all happening and you're getting this major buzz and everything, you go downtown, you go to the supermarket, you go out, and someone approaches you and they have a response to you. And do you want to go with it?
This away. This is in the show. And in the show, as Richard, as you know, for you guys who are watching, I play like 12 or something different characters. So yes, I went to the little corner market.
Everyone's going to go and watch this tonight after this.
I hope so.
Yes.
Also, you know what? It's on Tubi for free. So you can stream it on Apple or whatever, or on Tubi. If you have that, it's free. Anyway, so this, I actually went to the corner market to get a newspaper because this Jerry Blatt had been hiding a horrible, horrible review from me. So I went down to get it. And this woman said, oh, it's Sam Harris. Oh my God, Sam Harris. And then she looked at me and she said, you're just an ugly little thing. Well, It was devastating because, you know, you get celebrated and then all of a sudden those things that just cut you. And of course, I remember that. I remember a bad notice or a bad thing. That's what we remember. You don't remember all the good ones.
That's the one that jumps out at you.
That's the one that you live with. Now, of course, I have a sense of humor about it, but
Right.
it was devastating to a kid, to a young man.
But you come home and you find that he's hiding these sections from the newspaper from you.
It said, Sam, why are we giving column space to Sam Harris? He sounds like a cross between Ethel Merman, Arnold the Pig, and a police siren. That's what this person, it was a letter to the editor. Oh my God, someone thought of me and someone published it.
Well, I don't understand what possesses someone to want to write something like that to the editor in the first place.
That's true.
But to get something like this, what gets you through those moments?
Now or then?
Anytime.
Then it was okay. I'm standing in the wings, take the last puff, throw it on the ground, stamp it out, and go belt my guts out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got me through that part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, it always hurts because unlike other businesses, ours is public. We are putting ourselves up for that scrutiny. And I just try to move past it in a different way because I'm not defined anymore by my work.
Oh, good for you. That's
what
great.
I do, it's part of my identity, but my person, my being a father, my being a husband, my being a friend that's what I work on the most.
Did that shift happen when you had your son?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I didn't know that I could love that much.
Mm.
And you can't, if you're going to be a good person and be a model, good person for your child, it can't just be when they're in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be that. You have to be that. And I'm not always successful at it, trust me. I'm not always, my best person, but he knows I try,
So after the success of Star Search, did you map out a career for yourself, or were things happening based on the people that you knew and the circumstances that were happening? Davis Gaines said, it's interesting being in this business because you think that you're planning it all out, and then it's like being in a pinball game. All of a sudden, you're bandied about. You have very little control over the circumstances that come your way. Where do you feel that you fit in as far as the trajectory of planning out your career?
Well, Davis was absolutely right. You have to have a plan, but you have to know that it's probably not going to be that plan. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, here's the deal. Oh my God. I was just earlier today, I did a reunion, a virtual reunion of the cast of The Life.
Wow.
And we did it virtually because my dear friend Billy Porter is putting up a reimagined version of that at City Center Encore.
Yes.
In a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be there to see it. I'm so excited. But God, why is my mind going? It's because it's blustery and gray and rainy. It makes me just want to take a nap. Although this is fascinating. I can't remember what we were talking. We're
talking about the trajectory of a career, and you said that you earlier today did this virtual reading of.
Yes. No, not a virtual reading.
A meeting of.
We don't know. I don't know what I was going to say, but we don't know what's going to happen. Oh, I know what it was. That Cy Coleman, the great Cy Coleman, all these shows, took him 10 years to get The Life on the boards. 10 years. And I remember reading something about Martin Scorsese taking 8 years to get this film made. And I'm like, if Martin Scorsese takes that long, how am I going to get it done? And projects that I have created, written, been in development have taken years and then sometimes don't happen. So for anybody, remember, the public only sees the things that did happen.
That's right.
And so for the one you see that does happen, there's 10 or 15 or 20 that just imploded or dissolved or faded away, which is to me the worst. The steam just leaves, or you realize it's not right for its time. It's hard, and it does not change. It doesn't change. The older we get, whatever our success is, and I have friends who are much more famous and more things on the map, and I watch them go through the same struggles and development and things. But we also have different things to say at different times in our lives, you know? So I love my life. I love my business. But it's exhausting. I've said to Danny, I'm tired of pushing the boulder up the hill. I'm tired, you know? But you just keep doing it because sometimes you get the boulder to the top.
Well, I want to talk about several of those boulders, and I want to start with this. This is the first boulder, Ham. What was the impetus for you to write this book? These are, it's not a linear story, but episodes of your life. Were you a writer? Did you know that you were a writer before this? Have you kept journals throughout your life?
I kept journals when I was younger, but no, I didn't. No, I've written so much stuff for my shows over the years. I had written a television show. I had written different essays and articles for things. Writing is very rhythmic for me. The way I love words, I love the sounds of words, I love syllables, I love punctuation. It's always been. I'm an avid reader. I love books, and so the way it began is just by an essay here, an essay there. And my dear friend Frank Langella, I had sent him a couple of the stories, and he was like, "Keep writing, just write. Don't judge it. Don't think about how you're going to sell it. Don't think about whether somebody's going to like it or not. Don't keep editing it. Just write." And that's funny. It's just a slightly thing. I'll come back to Frank, but I was working on a thing for a short time with Eric Bogosian, and he had an office in New York City that was his writing place. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing on the walls. There was not a window. There was nothing distracting. And it said in black marker, "Just write." And so that's what I did. And Frank said, don't get ahead of yourself. Just keep writing. And then it was very sort of strangely serendipitous. I had enough material, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to see if anybody likes this. This was so weird. In fact, I'm sure I've told this, but maybe not. There was an editor that I knew was on my fan page thing, and he would comment once in a while. And I knew that he was an editor, a major one at Simon & Schuster. And I knew he was a fan. And so I found him, I contacted him, and I said, you know what? I've just been playing with these ideas and these stories. Would you take a look? I don't even know this man. And he read them, and I don't even know, he didn't know what to expect. He thought of me as a singer and as an actor. And he read them and immediately called and said, "I want to take this in." And I had the deal, not the deal done, but I had the offer before I had a literary agent. It happened that way. And then it was another year while I finished and rewrote and did all that stuff.
How did you decide what to tell and what not to tell? Because there are a lot of very personal stories in the book, but I'm sure there are a lot that are not in the book. How did you decide to edit yourself, or did you have someone else who made those decisions for you?
No one edited. There are stories that didn't make it in the book, but it's because I didn't think they were good enough.
Okay.
And they were no. I don't, Danny, my husband, says, if I want to know what's going on in your life, I'll come see one of your shows, because I don't really talk about personal things. I'm doing it here with you. Mm-hmm. I do it on stage. I do it on the page, but I do it easily publicly. And it's funny because people, sometimes somebody will come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, the time you did such and such," or whatever, your suicide attempt. And I'm like, I think, how do you know this? How do you know this about me? That's so personal. What are you, a stalker? That's what I think I'm like, oh no, it's in my book and I did it on stage.
Well, when did you decide to put this on stage?
I was doing readings of it, and because I'm a stage guy, instead of going into bookstores and stuff, I was promoting it in theaters and stuff, in theaters around the country, different places. And I was doing readings of it actually at 54 Below, which I'm playing in next week after
We're going
next.
to talk about that. Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Todd Schroeder, who's going to be here later in the week, everyone.
Okay.
Yes. No, he's coming on. We're going to do a part 2 with Todd. I love your collaboration. And you two are just so incredible together.
He is magical. He is so gifted. We call each other our musical soulmates. When we found each other, it's been almost 30 years.
You breathe together.
And I don't think we just are. It's the greatest relationship. He's brilliant, and he's only become more brilliant. He's so smart, and he's also a therapist a bit for me. I just went through a horrible thing. I just went through 5 months of voice rest.
I know.
Hemorrhaged a vocal cord and then had surgery. 5 months of voice rest. Not easy. And the scariness of it, and that it's my identity. And when I started rehabbing just January, Todd was very there for me emotionally, exercises, starting slow, doing things. He really, really helped me get through this. He's a mensch. He's the best.
Well, this book, and I want to bring something up here because you have another book out, and this book is getting phenomenal reviews. But this book is a novel. It's a completely.
Yes, totally.
Where did where was the seed for this planted?
Well, at Simon & Schuster, after Ham came out, I presumed that I was just going to keep writing books on essays and short stories, sort of David Sedaris-y, except maybe more personal. And the head of gallery at Simon & Schuster and this editor I was talking about sat me down at lunch in New York and said, "You should be writing fiction." What? I was like, what? That seems so large. So large. A novel, literary fiction is a different animal than writing stories about your life. And for the first time in my life, I had total writer's block, completely clueless. And then one night, Danny and I were having dinner with some friends, and the man, his name's Doug, said, "I've never known you like this, where you don't just have a million ideas and you start going." And he says, "This has to come from something." And suddenly I remembered certain aspects of my childhood, growing up in Oklahoma in the 60s. And it's a totally fictional character, but it's a world that I knew, and there were few commonalities with me. And I said, "I'm not going to be having dinner with you tonight. Do you have a legal pad?" And he gave me a legal pad and a pen, and I sat in the corner and started making notes on the And I'll tell you, all the things we're talking about, Richard, it is my proudest work. It is, it took 4 years to write, not every day.
Mm-hmm.
It is my proudest work. It is the best concentration of my heart. I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of it. And it is a movie waiting to happen.
I know. Who do you have an idea of who you would like to do the movie?
Actually, it's not a movie. It's a limited series. It's too much information for a movie. No, I do not. Because there's a 12-year-old boy, and then that 12-year-old boy as a man. So it's two stories. This man looking back on this childhood. And in brief, this boy in 1968, he's 12 years old, coming of age story. And he learns that he has the gift to heal by touching. And it's about what happens to him this summer and how he's exploited and the concept of God and all these things. And then this man, all these years later, looking back on this traumatic thing that happened to him, and through his work, he's a therapist now. And through his work with this very, very damaged woman, he's able to go back and look at it. And I really, I don't pitch like, gotta see please, anyone who's watching this, I want you to read this book. It is my proudest effort.
Well, I mean, congratulations on this, and I can't wait to read it myself. I mean, I've loved this book so much. I want to ask. You and I spoke through text, a few months ago when you were on vocal rest, and you said that you were going through this difficult time. What was the experience like for you when you walked on stage again after months of not knowing when or if you would sing again? Because there was that fear that you might not sing again, or when you did sing again, what your voice would be like.
That's right. That first show was 3 or 4 weeks ago in Palm Springs, and I had 2 in a row. And it was the third time we had canceled, not even because of the voice rest. It was all, I mean, it was the third effort, and those were COVID cancellations. But it was scary, scary, scary. And by the way, I have terrible stage fright. I have so much anxiety to get on stage. It's almost debilitating. And it was getting really, really a lot worse these last few years, to the point that I was like, can I do this? Do I want to do this? And then the COVID happened, and then the vocal damage happened. And I thought, damn it, if I don't do this, it cannot be because I can't. It has to be because I don't want to. And then I worked very, very hard. And that first show was 60% terrified, 40% free. And the very next night, it was just like flying. It was so joyful. And then I just did a couple of shows in Florida. And I saw that you've interviewed John McDaniel. And he played for me in Florida.
John McDaniel, I've done John McDaniel.
So, yeah, I saw it on the promo. Yeah. And also in the clip you showed of Don't Rain on My Parade, that was John conducting that orchestra. So John and I worked together in Florida. And so I have, 5 shows under my belt. And now these coming up.
And and I'm going to put this on here. You were going to be at 54 Below. That's coming up on the 16th and the 17th.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And then you're also going to be at Catalina's. And so you're back.
Yeah, I am.
And can I expose the fact that you're now openly gray?
Well, I think they've been able to figure this out.
That's the name of the show.
So many of us are now gray. People who never were, and the COVID did it to us.
Yeah,
like, seriously.
I love it. I'm proud of every gray hair on my head.
Absolutely.
So we're going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to give everyone a chance. The word today is confidence, and because I think of you, and again, I'm such a fan of yours. I just love your work so much. I always have been. I end my shows with my homage to James Lipton inside the Actors Studio. So I've got some questions that I'm going to ask you. And while I'm doing this gives everyone a chance. If you've already used the hashtag confidence, you don't need to do it again. You're automatically entered. But this gives everyone else who has not done this a chance to enter. And I'm going to begin. The first question for you is, what is the best possible attitude to have in this business?
Hope. No, that's not right. The best attitude to have in this business is, hopeful tenacity. You just have to keep going, period.
Great. Good. Who is the person with whom you've been most infatuated with in this business? You're going to think that I'm crazy because it's so different world, but I feel like I learned so much from the comedians, from Lucille Ball, from Charlie Chaplin, from Lily Tomlin. I don't know. That was the thing that gave, isn't that weird? I had never thought of that. No, I think that's great.
Weird. You thought I was going to say like Frank Sinatra or Ethel Merman.
No. What's your favorite movie?
Two. One is To Kill a Mockingbird. My son's middle name is Atticus.
Oh, okay.
And the second one is a French film called Ponette, about a 4-year-old girl who has lost her mother in a car accident. It's about her coming to terms with what God is and what that loss is. And I've seen it 30 times. And every time I watch it, I think, now I'm going to watch it technically, because this little girl is one of the best actors you've ever seen. And of course, I start crying in the first 5 minutes.
Wow. Wow. How, you probably have already answered this question earlier tonight, but you can reiterate it if you feel that you've already answered it. How do you desire that others see you at this point in your life and career?
Others see me. I want them to see me as, you know, this is your hashtag. I want them to see me as confident and always growing and reinventing.
Very good. What is the major lesson that you have learned from what have you been through in the past year?
I have so many things in my head because of the voice thing, because of COVID. What have I learned? I've learned to be patient. I've learned to be more patient with myself, with the world, with my family. Patience, absolutely.
Okay. Name one instance in which you've kept your word today other than being here.
Kept my word?
Yes.
I promised my son that we would get tickets to see Batman.
Are you going tonight?
I bought them.
Oh, good, good, good. Who is the person you know with the freest spirit?
You know what? I have to say, my husband, Danny, he's a smart, loving, wonderful man, but he lives life. He is free and just with abandonment. And I'm a planner, and I always think something's going to take too long, or we don't have enough time, or whatever. And he'll be like, "Let's go to the beach." And I said, "It's 2:00 in the afternoon. We'll be there for an hour." And he'll say, "But we'll be there for an hour."
Oh,
And he has taught me to be more, just go with it, just impulsive. Just be in the world, be in the world. And I would do this. I could live in a dark room. It's not pretty, but he's a savior for me in that way.
Oh, that's great. What other activities give you purpose other than this and writing?
Cooking.
Oh, wow.
I love feeding people. I'm a really good cook, always learning things, and I love feeding people almost as much as I love singing to them, because it is so personal. You're actually creating something that goes into their bodies. That's as personal as it gets.
I know.
and giving that and watching what happens and how they feel about it, or what I tried. I love entertaining, and I love feeding people.
Me too. I love to cook.
Do you?
Yes, and maybe you've just answered the next question. What other activities give you purpose? And maybe that's it.
I love creating things. I've been what Danny and I were in Palm Springs in a gallery, and there was this painting that we loved, and it was a fortune. And I said, I think I can paint that. And I came home and I painted it. I love gardening. I love cooking. I love painting. I love anything that you're making something that didn't exist before. That gives me joy.
Well, what gives me joy is giving things away, and we're going to give away your book, and they can choose the one they want to take. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to bring my hands up here so they know that I don't pick the winner. So we'll see who the winner is. Chicago Share. I don't even know who this is.
Well, hello, Chicago Share.
Chicago Share. Send me a private message, Richard@richardskipper.com. Again, that's Richard at richardskipper.com, so that I can get this out to you, and I will get it into tonight's mail. I'll go to Amazon and order it for you. So thank you so much. I'm going to take this off. Chicago Share.
I love it.
I love that.
Chicago Share. I hope you pick the substance of all things. You'll get them both, but I'm loving for you to read that.
That's great. Well, Sam, don't go anywhere for a moment. I hope you had a great time. I just
love you. I always have. You're such a good spirit and such a kind man, and you're curious. And that to me is what keeps us going, right? You're curious.
Well, I'm curious. Just like Alice in Wonderland. I'm curious, and it gets curiouser and curiouser. Don't go anywhere for a moment. Everyone, thank you for being here today. I'm sure that I can speak for Sam when I say this. We don't take it lightly when you show up. So thanks for being here. I hope you had a great time. If you did, and this was your first time, please subscribe to Richard Skipper Celebrates. My goal is to celebrate artists and their body of worth. Check out the other artists I've celebrated here. Don't let it stop here. Check out anything that Sam is doing. Read his books.
You can go to the website because that's where the tickets for this stuff. SamHarris.com.
SamHarris.com. I will also have that included on the YouTube channel as well, so that you'll be able to keep up with anything that's going on after the fact. So please keep up with everything that's going on there. Please leave a comment on YouTube, even if you've left comments here. Leave a comment there. Share this with your friends. I'm going to hopefully, God willing, be at Feinstein's 54 Below. Join me there. I'm hoping to be there. And everyone, I always end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list, and the fifth name that pops up, reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call. And let that person know what they mean to you. As my dear friend, and I was corrected yesterday, this actually comes from Sean Moniger. He says it comes from him, not his husband, David. Sean Moniger always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. Now, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about today that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone. And I do want to say one other thing. Sam was just interviewed by our dear friend Seth Rudetsky, and that's going to be coming up on Sirius XM Radio on the Broadway channel. So if you all subscribe to that, look for that interview. That's coming up as well. So please check that out. And if you can contribute to the Actors Fund through Stars in the House, everyone do that. Billy Porter, who we love, has a show coming up. Is it going to be at City Center?
Yes.
Yes. A reimagining of the Life. Great, great musical. So I'm going to leave the screen. You've got the final word. Don't worry about how to end the show. As soon as you say goodbye, the rolling credits will begin. Okay. I love you, Sam. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Richard. Here's what I'd like to leave you with. What he just said. Doing something wonderful for someone without asking for anything in return. And I think that COVID has taught us all these being reunited with people that we've loved from our history, from our past. It's made us see about what it is to be present. So I will leave you with his message as well. Go out into the world, do something wonderful for somebody. You have I tell this to my son, you have so much power to make things better. Make things better. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you, Richard. I just adore you.